Okay, guys, good morning. I have a super cute craft for us today. I'm going to be using this wood slice that my hubby cut for me. I ended up with several of this shape, so I'm going to use one of these today. And then I have this cute summer napkin with a bee on it that a friend gifted to me. So we're going to decoupage this together and see how it comes out. My internet is down, so I'm not able to see my iPad. I may not be able to see your chat messages while I'm working, but if I miss them, I definitely will go back and check later. And if you're watching the replay, I will see that notification if you have a comment or question. So please feel free to chat with me even if you're watching the replay. So let's go ahead and get started. Going to put my napkin to the side, and I'm going to start by working on my wood slice here. I got this stencil at Hobby Lobby, and so I thought it would be cute to try to use that to add a little bit of light color to my base before I decoupage my napkin on. Give me just a sec here. I'm going to put my phone on Do Not Disturb because I forgot to do that. Okay. So for my base, I'm going to go ahead and put on a little bit of this plaster color chalk paint by Waverly. And I'm doing this also so that my napkin shows up really well whenever I get ready to decoupage it on. So let's see, I have this little spongy tool here. I've never used a stencil before, and this is the first time I'm using this stencil, and so we're just going to kind of see what happens. Worst case, I'll just kind of paint it all the same color, but I'm going to go ahead and dab off a lot of the paint of my brush. I don't want it too thick because I think that'll make it just kind of run. And so I'm just going to kind of alternate these different sizes around the edge of my wood slice here, and just kind of get that dabbed in there. Like I said, I have no idea how this is going to turn out. I'm just experimenting, so bear with me here. I'm also really not sure how to check my chat while I'm on my phone, so I don't know. I really don't know how to see that. So sorry guys, if you're commenting, I appreciate you being here, and feel free to ask questions after the live stream has ended if you have any questions. So my first attempt here, we've got a couple honeycomb shapes. So we'll see kind of what happens. I'm just gonna do some bigger ones, some smaller ones, just kind of make it random. Just putting a little bit of white on this wood so that whenever I decoupage my napkin on, it's going to show up a little bit better. And we'll see. I'm not sure about those. I think the bigger ones look better. Kind of look like circles, but that's okay. I'll do a few of the smaller ones in this space. Like I said, if it doesn't end up looking good, we'll just kind of dry brush it. Dry brush it all on. I'm not really sure how that is going to turn out. So I don't know. Let's just kind of use our sponge here to go around the edges too. A lot of this you won't be able to see because I will have the napkin over it. Do want to make sure I get this middle here. This is going to be covered up, I'm sure, so I'm not worried about how it's looking as far as the honeycomb print. Just kind of adding some white here so that my napkin doesn't get lost in this wood. Okay, I'm kind of hoping that we're just going to see a hint of this honeycomb around the edges. I don't know. Sometimes you try stuff and it doesn't work out, so we're just going to see what happens. And I hate that I can't see my chat, but I don't know. I just don't know how to see it. So, I don't know. I'm just going to keep going. Sorry, guys. Hopefully next time my internet will be back up. All right, let's put all that to the side. Make sure this is good and dry. I'm going to go ahead and work on my napkin while we're doing that. Got my square cut out. Now I want only to use one of the plies. When you decoupage, you definitely want it to be thin. So I'm going to get my fingers a little tacky. That helps pull the plies apart. So I just want this top one. And I do want the edges to be a little rough. So let's see. I'm going to get a paintbrush. I have a little water over here. I'm going to dip it in and just kind of paint some water around those edges so that I can tear it kind of in a circle, since my wood slice is a circle shape. But let's just tear some of those corners away. I don't want it to be a perfectly square, straight edge. My fingers are still sticky. All right, and anything extra that I don't want there, we can just kind of sand it away. All right, let's pull this back out. I'm sure this is dry by now. And you can kind of see the honeycomb behind it. So I'm trying to decide, now's the moment of truth. Do I want to go ahead and push forward with my idea, or do I want to just dry brush and have some of the white? If I could see comments, I would ask you guys, what do you think? I'm just going to kind of tear some of this. Maybe I won't. Kind of thinking here, because they kind of just ended up looking like dots. This one did good, but I don't know. I think I'm just going to go ahead and dry brush it just to be on the safe side, because I'm not sure what that's going to look like. I tried it, not sure if I like it, so dip off some of my extra paint there. Let's just kind of drown that out a little bit. It's kind of hard to paint this wood. It's rough. Kind of got to put it on thick. Thicker than I thought I would. kind of just bring that up to the top here because I did not do that. Okay, let's leave it at that and see what happens. Let's give it a shot of heat just to make sure that it's dry. All right, I think that's going to be a little bit better. So now I have some Mod Podge here. I'm using the matte Mod Podge. And I'm going to go ahead and put that on my overall my piece. I'm going to go ahead and do the whole thing because if I want to do any more distressing, it helps to have the glue on top to spread any ink or paint across. And also it's going to make it just kind of all look the same once it dries. And there are a lot of different grooves. This is not a completely flat piece, so I'm just using my sponge to make sure that I get it down into those grooves and pull it out also around the edges in case I want to spread something there. Line it up here. I'm going to move it a little bit towards the bottom because I am going to put a bow up here. So get that where I want it. Let's see. Then I'm going to use the stiff brush. I get these at Dollar Tree, but you can use any stiff brush to just tap it down. That way I'm making sure I'm not going to tear the napkin, and I'm going to get into all the natural grooves of this wood, and it's going to make it just blend in really well. Your goal with decoupage is almost to make it look like you painted it on there. So you want it to be really thin and then blend it in with your background. So that's one good thing about it having the different grooves and texture. It's going to show up really nice on this napkin. And again, for anybody who's hopping on, I'm not really able to see comments right now. So, and YouTube doesn't actually save those comments. So if you have a question or something to say, you can always come back and make a comment later after the live stream has ended. If you just want to say hi or if you have a question, I will look at those comments. All right, so I think I've got that tapped in pretty good. I've got some extra napkin that I want to just kind of sand away. So you can do that. Just pull away any extra of the white. I just want, you know, to save the design, but you can pull some of that white paper away from the napkin. I love my little mini sanders. They are just so good for everything. So far, I think it's looking pretty good. I think it's blending in really well. Okay. So here's what we have so far. I think it's looking super cute. I can't wait to see the finished piece. Let's go ahead and Give this a little heat, make sure it's dry, and then I'm going to cover it with another coat of Mod Podge. Feels pretty good. Let's give it a little bit more. I think I had a clump earlier. Kind of work from the middle out. And I did put it on a little thick just because it's got so many grooves that it's hard to get the glue into. Kind of dab it in there a little bit. And it looks really thick right now, but it is gonna dry clear, so don't stress about that if you get to that part in your project and you think, oh no, I can't really see my napkin. I don't want to pull on it too much because I don't want to tear the napkin, but kind of thin that out just a little bit. And get some glue into those lines and grooves. My husband actually cut this with a chainsaw from a tree out in our woods, so that's why it has so many grooves, but I like it. All right, so we're gonna let that dry, and while that's drying, let's go ahead and work on the bow. I am going to use my mini bow dabber for this. It's kind of a smaller project, a little bit. I don't want to get too big. I have a tendency to get my bows too big, so we're gonna go with the mini and see. I'm gonna try something new today too. I'm gonna use a piece of this raffia instead of twine to put down here to tie up my bow and see if that works out. That way I don't have to try to cover up the string so much. So for my materials, I have a little bit of, this is Osnaburg from Walmart. I have some strips that I've already kind of torn for my neutral color. I also have this gray plaid that I'm going to use. I think it's going to go with my napkin really well. And then, of course, some of this faded yellow. I think I get these colors at Hobby Lobby. They're just nice, distressed, kind of faded colors that you can get. So I'm going to do that to pull out some of the yellow. And I am going to use strips today, not loop bows, just to kind of do a little rag bow. So I think I'm cutting this way. Just kind of give it a snip about an inch or so and rip it down. Pull the strings off, and then you've got just kind of like a little tattered strip here. I don't really know how many I need, but let's do a couple. And then I'll tear some more if I need to. Sometimes the edges want to roll up on you, so if you do the bigger strips, that leaves room for the edges to roll and you can still see the color. This gray plaid was a set that I got at Joann's a while back. It was a little bundle. And I'm not going to use that piece because one side was not. I'll go back and distress that later probably, but for now I'm just going to get some pieces that are already done. And then I probably can kind of cut these. I might be able to use this in my piece too. I just kind of rip the natural shorter edge of the material. It's probably about 12 inches long, I would guess. So you can kind of cut that in half because I don't need it to be that big. All right, so here's my pieces. What I like to do is I'm going to start with my gray pieces, kind of just make a little bit of an X here. And I am going to end up cutting these ends a good bit probably. So I'm going to make an X here. Then I want to add my neutral color. And then I think I can get a little bit more out of this if I cut it. We'll see. Because you can kind of start big and then get smaller as you go in. So let's see what we can do here. Try not to waste too much of it, but it wasn't that expensive. So cut that kind of in half, and then I can get 2 X's or 2 legs of my X out of that. Then I'm going to go again and use the same pattern here with my gray and my neutral. And my color. I'm getting close to the top of my bow dabber here, so that's telling me that my bow's getting to be the right size. I think I want one more strip of neutral to put on the top. So. And you can kind of pull those edges here to make it fray. I really like a lot of just fray on my edges. So let's do that. And then I'll go and trim it up a little bit. And really you can just add as many layers as you want. So this is like 2 layers of my fabric pattern that I'm using. You can add 3 or 4. It just depends on how big and fluffy you want it to be. Normally if my piece has room, I like it to be very full. So set that to the side. Gonna kind of flatten out my pieces here. And then we'll just tie a knot in the back. And I think this raffia is gonna work really well. It's gonna hold up pretty good. I'm gonna end up adding a little raffia bow to the top probably, so I think it's gonna blend in really nice. I'll just cut my edges. Then you can kind of spread out your pieces here, straighten them out. Obviously, I'm going to be cutting the edges down, so let's go ahead and trim it up just a little bit. Spread it out. And I'll work on it some more too whenever I get it on my piece where I can see But here's what we have so far. It's just a cute little neutral bow with a little pop of yellow to bring out that napkin color. All right. Still got a couple pieces that are long. Then you can just take your scissors and kind of go around those ends that you cut off, pull out some of those strings. And anywhere that you want to add a little bit more just raggy texture. Okay. So let's pull out our piece. It's not quite dry. So let's give it a little bit of heat and see if we can get it to dry the rest of the way. All right, it feels pretty dry. It's still got a few milky spots, but it will clear as it continues to dry the rest of the way. But here's what we have so far. So let's add the rest of our embellishments and see how it turns out. I'll probably put my bow somewhere to the side here. Before I do too much, I think I want to go ahead and add a hanger. That way everything's just not really in my way. I have this piece of jute string. I think that will make just a simple, cute little hanger here. And this just naturally had this little hole, little knotty hole here. And so it's going to work out perfect. Just kind of tie a knot there. And then we've got a cute little hanger. All right, so let's go ahead and start adding on our other pieces. I'm gonna go ahead and put this right up here at the top so that it doesn't cover up too much of my design, and then I can trim it up down here too if I need to. It does kind of cover up that cute little hole, so it's up to you. You could, I don't know, if you put it down here, it's gonna cover up the little flower, so I don't really like that. I just don't know that there's a good way. Maybe if I put it to the side here or over here. Sometimes you just kind of have to play with stuff and see what you think looks good. I do really want that to show a little bit because I think it's neat, but also I really want my napkin to show. So I don't know if I could see your chats. Your comments, I would ask, what do you think? I kind of have the side option here or the top option. What do we think? I'm also going to put a little tag, so I think I'm going to go to the side to make room for my other stuff over here. We'll just go with it, see what happens. Gonna go ahead and use some hot glue to stick it on. Just get it nice and high up here at the top. This side's a little long anyway, so I can kind of trim it and see if we can get that to peek out a little bit more. pull some of those strings out so that we get our little tattered look there. Okay. So there is that. Now let's add some stuff to our bow. I feel like adding greenery really makes a huge difference, so we'll get a little greenery going here. Probably have to cut this down. It's a little bit long. Just got to kind of stick it in there, try to find that perfect little place for it. See how it lays just right. Sometimes one side's better than the other side. I think I like it going down though. To me, adding a little greenery just makes really all the difference. Put our little shortcut piece. I don't want to cover it up too much. It also will add a little bit of fullness to our bow. If I can find just the right spot for it. That looks like a pretty good spot. My glue gun is not wanting to take my stick today. All right, let's do the same thing on the other side. Still just a little bit long. Let's cut off a little bit more. That's better. Get that in there. Can kind of add a couple pieces a little bit closer to the top too, so that they stand out. All right, and then I also have this little sprig I got from Dollar Tree a while back, and so I'm going to use that to bring out a little bit of the yellow too. So I think some of this flat fern stuff will be cute. It's a little bit tall, so let's trim it up. Just kind of a couple different colors of greenery. I think that mixes it up, makes it look cute. Get that stuck in there. And then we'll add this. Kind of looks funny because it's not the top. Let's just grab a different one. I'm sure I'll use that for something. This one's a little curved. That's interesting. And then a couple of these little flowers. Cut it down just one more. I definitely want to stick that in between. You can kind of put things in between your strips to make it look just right. So we'll put one there, and then maybe right here. And I think it needs one more. One of my followers, she always tells me to use odd numbers. That's hard for me because I'm a very symmetrical person. But I'm thinking that that's going to be really good to add one to this side over here. Let's see how I want to do it. Okay. So far we've got a couple different kinds of greenery, some flowers. Here's how we're looking. So I just need to kind of decorate the front or the top of the bow. And then I have this little wood tag that I want to use. So I'm going to decorate that too. I have some stamps here. I feel like it needs a little something at the bottom here. I'm not sure though. I may add something in a minute, but for now, I have this little spoon too that I'm going to try to use if it works out. All right, but for now, see, I don't know, that's going to be over the top of my design. So I was thinking about maybe just putting a little tag right here. Because I don't want to cover up my napkin. But I like the little tag idea. You could leave it off or you can incorporate it, but I'm going to go ahead and stamp it out. So I'm going to stamp on the words Fresh Honey. I'm going to use some of this Stays On ink. And I want it to be as far to the back as I can. So I'm going to start with the end of the word. These, I'll show you the stamps. This is a stamp set that I get at Dollar General. They have two different fonts, so make sure you grab this one if that's the one that you're wanting. The other one is more of a typewriter font. I think I have an extra set of these in my Etsy shop if your Dollar General doesn't have them. Sometimes they're hard to find. So when I see extras, I try to grab them. All right, so we're going to work backwards. I'm definitely not always perfect at stamping these, but I think it just gives it character, right? So practice helps. Luckily we've got both sides in case I mess up one side. I'm getting a little tall there. The trick is just to kind of look underneath, kind of trying to pull it down a little bit there. My F kind of touched my R. That's okay. So there's the first word, and then I'm going to do the same thing. Start with the end of the word because I do want it to be all the way to the end so that you can see it. Kind of wonky here, but that's okay. Doesn't have to be perfect. I definitely don't do perfect crafts. It just is how it is. So now I've got that. It says fresh honey. I'm going to use some distressing ink. This is Vintage Photo, Tim Holtz Distress ink. It's kind of a lighter brown, so that brush is kind of big. There it is. These are some blending brushes. You can get them at Hobby Lobby. You can also get them on Amazon. I did have a bunch of links in my Amazon storefront. For some reason, they all kind of disappeared. But I'm slowly adding things back. So if you need the link for that, just let me know. I'll be glad to share it with you. I'm just going to kind of work on my corners and edges here to give this a little bit of interest. Make it look a little shadowed and distressed. And then I'm also going to take it and just go right on those corners and edges to get some dark pieces. Some darker shading. And then you can just kind of smooth it out a little bit. You don't want to do too much because you'll lose your color, the darkness of it, but there's that. So just a little bit of shading there, and then also I'm going to go ahead and do a little on my spoon, just with kind of some of that leftover ink so that it matches. All right, so I'm thinking here that I'll use a little piece of twine to kind of tie that together. Kind of tied in a knot, and you can also use a little touch of hot glue to keep it in place. Once I can see how it's looking on my project, then I'll decide kind of a more permanent placement for it. But cute, cute. All right, let's see where we want to put it. I can always just put it right in the middle of my bow. Actually, I do like this. I'm liking it better in the middle, I think. I just have to decide which side do I want my spoon on. I think it's situated better like that. I think it's going to look better than off. We can do it like that, or we can kind of do it off to the side here. Not sure if I'm liking that. because I was thinking something like this, but I think it shows up better right here. And then I can still kind of put a little bow right there maybe. I think that's what we'll do. I hope you guys are liking this. I wish I could see your comments. Okay. For better or worse, here we go. We're going to add it on here. So, oops. Make sure I get it far enough up because I don't want to hide my little bee. And then let's give a little bit of hot glue here to hold our spoon in place. Very good. Also got a little extra greenery that I can kind of stick around in here. Just to give it a little extra. All right, what do I do with this? This is just a little raffia bow that I think I'm gonna stick right here. It might look a little bit better that way. I can kind of trim our edges a little bit more. All right, I think we need a little flower or something right there. Let's see, is that the one that I want to use? I've got these. Let me get these. They're different. This is just a little something off of another one. They might be too tall. They might not work. Maybe just one. Let's see. Or maybe we'll just use them together but shorter. We'll just kind of stack them in there. All right, let's work on our edges just a little bit. These ones that I cut earlier. Kind of pull some strings out. Okay. Our bow might have been a little bit big. Let's see if we can take it down just a little bit. Yeah, I think that's better. Kind of fold it this way so that it's... Okay, I think that's better. Let's trim just a tiny bit off the ends. Give it a little bit of extra glue right there. Okay, much better there. All right, I think that's about everything that I wanted to add. I want to make sure that I can see my yellow strips really well so you can cut away anything that's extra or hiding, but okay. Very cute. I see this as a cute kitchen piece, even a little door hanger maybe. What do you guys think? I love how it turned out. Hope you like it too. Thanks for watching today so much. And I hope this inspired you to get a little crafty. I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.